So, it is now 5 p.m. here on Tuesday, January 13th. So we will call to order the Joliet Township regular board meeting for today, Tuesday, January 13th. Clerk, if you could, if you could call to order. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. Call to order the meeting. We'll begin with Pledge of Allegiance, after which we'll do the roll. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, please call the roll.
Trustee Adamowski.
Here.
Trustee Vivian.
Here.
Trustee Gavin.
Here.
Trustee Washington.
Here.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Here.
We have a quorum.
So, first on our agenda is approval of minutes. We've got 3 items under this section, so we will be calling these to vote separately, so that they're different nature. So, the first is approval for minutes of our regular town board meeting from last month, December 9th, 2025. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to review them. Questions regarding those minutes? If there are no questions, then I would ask for a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the regular town board meeting of December 9th, 2025. It's been motion and second, Madam Clerk.
Trustee Gavin.
Aye.
Trustee Adamowski.
Aye.
Trustee Vivian.
Aye.
Trustee Washington.
Aye.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Good. This next item is a little bit different. This will be for approval of the closed session minutes of the regular town board meeting on December 9th, 2025. Likewise, if there are no questions, I'll ask for a motion and a second to approve.
So moved. Second.
Madam Clerk.
Trustee Washington.
Aye.
Trustee Gavin.
Aye.
Trustee Adamowski.
Aye.
Trustee Vivian.
Aye.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And finally, last item to approve under minutes is for the salt bid of the road district's bid opening on December 29th, 2025. I would ask now if there is a motion and a second to approve the salt bid minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Trustee Vivian.
Aye.
Trustee Gavin.
Aye.
Trustee Adamowski.
Aye.
Trustee Washington.
Aye.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. So that concludes the approval of minutes. We'll now enter the public comment portion of the meeting. This would be the time for any audience members, any members of the public to come forward and address the township board. If we have any, that's going once, going twice. Seeing none, we will conclude public comment portion of our agenda today, and we will move forward now with the public hearing. So this public hearing is for in regards to the amended budget and appropriation ordinance, number 416, 2025. Just to clarify, this item here is not for us to vote. This is to open the public hearing, which we are required to do so before approving the budget or any amendments to. So during this time, I'll ask the board for a motion and a second to enter the public hearing. We'll then entertain any feedback or participation from the public. Once that is concluded, then we'll ask again to bring the public hearing to a close and carry on with the remainder of the agenda. So, is there a motion to recess the regular meeting to enter the public hearing for the amended budget and appropriation township ordinance number 416-2025?
So moved. Second.
It's been a motion made by Trustee Adamowski and a second by Trustee Gavin. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Adamowski.
Aye.
Trustee Gavin.
Aye.
Trustee Vivian.
Aye.
Trustee Washington.
Aye.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Then let the record show at 5:04 is the time, and so at 5:04 we will commence the public hearing. If there is anybody in the audience now that would like to speak on this agenda item regarding our budget amendments, now would be the time to do so. Twice. Good. Seeing none, then okay, so I accept the roll call from the regular town board meeting for its public hearing. Just like to verify that in accordance with legal notice, the legal notice was published in the Joliet Herald News on Friday, December 12th, 2025. A separate public hearing will be held for the town budgets, but this will be considered at the regular town board meeting. Just make sure that we've got all our, everything checked off here. Or you've all had time to review the ordinance. Are there any questions that you'd like to bring forth on this item? Alright, so if there are no further comments, and if there is no yes?
What is the budget year? What is the run to?
What is the, more asking for just the total amount, or what is the cycle, the calendar cycle? April 1st. So April 1st is when our fiscal year begins. The item on this agenda is for an amendment to this year's budget, which we approved back in, we started late, so we approved this one in, is that our June meeting? Yeah, so we're still within the legal limits of when it's allowed to be voted and approved on. But as time goes on, it's pretty standard for township boards to make adjustments for unanticipated costs, things that go over, things that come under. So I believe everybody's had a chance to review what those changes are. I know we had a couple more people walk in, so we'll just ask one more time if there's anybody that would like to speak for the public hearing portion of the amended budget. Now would be the time to do so. Seeing none, then if there are no further comments, I would request a motion to close the public hearing and reconvene the previously scheduled January 13th, 2026 regular town board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Trustee Gavin.
Aye.
Trustee Washington.
Aye.
Trustee Adamowski.
Aye.
Trustee Vivian.
Aye.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Then at 5:07, the public hearing was concluded. With the public hearing portion now having come to a close, we will now return to our regular agenda, and now would be the time that we would make a vote to adopt the amended general town budget for fiscal year 2025-26 under the budget and appropriations ordinance number 416-2025. So is there a motion and a second to adopt the amended budget?
So moved. Second.
That's a motion made by trustee Gavin and a second by trustee Adamowski. Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll.
Trustee Gavin.
Aye.
Trustee Adamowski.
Aye.
Trustee Vivian.
Aye.
Trustee Washington.
Aye.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Carrying on with our next agenda item, we've got two proclamations. The first of which is a proclamation for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I'll read that for the record now. Whereas Martin Luther King Jr. Day, observed on the third Monday of January, honors the life and legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., whose leadership transformed the fight for racial, economic, and social justice in the United States. Whereas Dr. King, a minister, scholar, and global advocate for human rights, was born January 15th, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia. He dedicated his life to a philosophy of nonviolence and building a future embodied by the beloved community. His vision of our society achievable through a fundamental transformation of hearts and systems alike. And whereas Dr. King's words inspired countless individuals to participate in change, most notably with his I Have a Dream address, establishing him as a national symbol of hope and reminding the country of its responsibility to fulfill its foundational promises. Whereas Dr. King's leadership and advocacy helped to move the government into action, securing landmark civil rights legislation including the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibited segregation and employment discrimination, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which protected voting rights, and the Fair Housing Act of 1968, which prohibited housing discrimination. Whereas at the age of 35, Dr. King received the esteemed Nobel Peace Prize and gained an international platform that he used to connect the issues of militarism, racism, and materialism. While controversial and unpopular at the time, Dr. King pushed for an end to the Vietnam War through his speeches and anti-war demonstrations, while also addressing class exploitation by creating the Poor People's Campaign. And whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. brought his mission of advancing justice to Joliet during his visit on June 4th, 1965, when he spoke at a rally at Memorial Stadium, calling on the community to embrace racial integration and a true brotherhood grounded in moral and ethical action. And whereas this holiday is the nation's only federal day of service, Dr. King's dream of a just and inclusive society remains a guiding light for generations, yet the work of turning that dream into a reality remains unfinished. Whereas racism and inequities persist in housing, wages, education, health, and access to opportunity, his legacy urges us to confront these injustices and work together toward a society rooted in dignity, equity, and shared humanity. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Joliet Township Government proclaims January 19th, 2026 as Martin Luther King Jr. Day in Joliet Township, and encourages all residents to honor Dr. King through reflection, service, and continued commitment to justice for all, to be adopted this 13th day of January 2026. We have a motion and a second to approve.
So moved. Second.
Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Trustee Gavin.
Aye.
Trustee Washington.
Aye.
Trustee Adamowski.
Aye.
Trustee Vivian.
Aye.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Now, at this time, we'll pause before continuing on to our next agenda item. I believe we are joined here by Deb Upshaw. If you'd like to podium, share a few words with us. Thank you for being here.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the invitation to speak about the proclamation and how it speaks to us today. When we reflect on this proclamation, we are reminded that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream was never meant to live only in history books or commemorative ceremonies. His dream was and still is a blueprint for communities like ours. A community that has endured decades of disinvestment, a community where grocery stores are absent, jobs are scarce, transportation is limited, and inequities are woven into daily life. A community that has been underserved, not because lack of potential, but because of lack of access. For 35 years, the National Hookup of Black Women Incorporated Joliet chapter, a 501c3 organization, has stood in that gap, meeting needs that should never have existed in the first place. We've fed families, supported seniors, uplifted women and children, and worked to restore dignity where systems have failed. In many ways, our work is a continuation of Dr. King's unfinished business. Dr. King's dream and today's reality. Dr. King fought for fair housing, living wages, quality education, accessible health care, and equal opportunity. He spoke boldly about poverty, economic justice, and the moral obligation to care for the most vulnerable. If he were to look at communities today, communities still battling food deserts, unemployment, underemployment, and structural inequities, he would recognize the struggle. He will see that while progress has been made, the promise of justice remains unevenly distributed. But he would also see the power of community-led organizations like ours. He will see neighbors feeding neighbors, volunteers stepping up, and leaders refusing to accept despair as destiny. He will see this dream still alive, carried forward not by speeches alone, but by service, advocacy, and collective action. We are working together toward dignity, equity, and shared humanity. The path forward requires all of us. Dr. King taught that justice is not the responsibility of a few, but the calling of a community. We move forward a more equitable society when we invest in dignity, ensuring families have choice, respect, and access to healthy foods. We build pathways to opportunity through workforce development, education, and partnerships that open doors. We stand united, nonprofits, businesses, faith communities, and residents working side by side. We refuse to normalize inequity and instead commit to transforming it. Dr. King reminds us that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. But it does not bend on its own. It bends because people like you, you, and us. We pull ourselves. We together, we pull it with our hands, our hearts, and our unwavering belief in a better tomorrow. And that is our belief, and thank you for the opportunity.
Just that you want to give to the clerk what you have written down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just for the records, we are joined also now by Judy Easley. So likewise, if you'd like to take the podium and share a few words with us.
Thank you for this proclamation and for the honor of accepting it today. On behalf of the NAACP and the community we serve, we are deeply grateful for this recognition of the life, legacy, and enduring work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King was more than a leader of his time. He was a moral compass for our nation. His commitment to justice, equality, and nonviolent social change continues to guide us as we confront the challenges of today. He reminded us that progress does not come through silence or complacency, but through courage, collaboration, and an unwavering belief in the dignity of all people. This proclamation is not only a tribute to Dr. King's words and actions, but also a call to action for each of us. Dr. King challenged communities to move beyond symbolic gestures and toward meaningful change that uplifts the marginalized, protects civil rights, and ensures equal opportunity in education, economic access, voting rights, and justice under the law. As an organization, the NAACP remains committed to carrying forward Dr. King's vision through civic engagement, advocacy, education, and community service. We continue the work of dismantling inequity and building bridges across differences. We understand that the work is not finished and that the responsibility to advance justice belongs to all of us. We thank the Joliet Township government for recognizing the importance of Dr. King's legacy and for standing with us in affirming that his dream still matters. May this proclamation serve as a reminder that justice requires action, equity requires intention, and unity requires effort. Let us honor Dr. King not only with our words today, but with our continued commitment to service, fairness, and love for humanity tomorrow and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just get them.
I have one item I want to own because I was little when he came to Joliet. My oldest brother had the honor. He's just out of the military. And he came home to bury our brother. But because he was a military cop, he was one of the ones that was standing on the podium as a bodyguard. So he got a chance to meet Dr. King. Also Ferdinand Range, because he had a CDL license, was a chauffeur for the limousine that day. Vern Boss, Sidney Edwards, two black police officers, were also on the podium. Two people that I grew up with. Vern being one of my brother's oldest and closest friends, and Sidney Edwards being a mentor and like a stepdad to me. So as a 10-year-old, I remember that when he came to Joliet. But it's hard to find anything in the archives. I do have one picture, and it's a picture, we don't know who took it, but Dr. King was standing with a bunch of ministers. I recognize two of them. Reverend Walton was one, and Reverend Bondor was the other. There was three others in the picture that I did not know, but I have that picture in my man cave. So I remember that moment when he was at Joliet.
The only thing I would like to add is that in today's environment, it is so important that we come together, that we stick together, and not let what's going on in the world make us feel we have nothing to say or nothing to do. It comes from all of us working together, standing up for each other, and not only remembering Dr. King's legacy, I can say personally, coming from Mount Zion Baptist Church, Pastor Dr. Isaac Singleton was one of those pastors. And that's where I get my commitment to serving in the community, is coming up in that environment. And we must remember, it's not about a black person, it's not about a brown person, a white person, it's about humanity, all of us.
It's a lot of history here in Joliet that we might not have known about. So definitely, I think the context study would like to see any of those photos or documents if you've got them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I can follow up on that.
No.
So
Amen.
we'll follow up with our next proclamation, which is a proclamation in recognition of National Human Trafficking Prevention Month. So I'll read that into the record now, and following, we'd like a motion and a second to approve. So this proclamation reads, whereas January is recognized as Human Trafficking Prevention Month, a time to learn the signs of human trafficking and strengthen our shared commitment to end this crime. Whereas this month honors the efforts of individuals and organizations committed to preventing human trafficking, uplifts the voices of survivors, and remembers those whose lives were lost to this injustice. Whereas the Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000 affirmed the national priority of preventing trafficking, protecting victims, and prosecuting traffickers, these principles are now used by countries around the world. Whereas while human trafficking can affect people of all backgrounds, individuals experiencing abuse, violence, economic hardship, housing instability, or social isolation face a heightened risk of exploitation. Whereas human trafficking is closely linked to other forms of violence and exploitation and is often driven by shared conditions, including limited access to resources and environments that fail to provide safety and support. And whereas human trafficking, including forced labor and sex trafficking, threatens public safety, violates human rights, harms millions of adults and children worldwide, and whereas the United States Department of Labor has identified 158 goods from 77 countries that are believed to be produced using child labor or forced labor in violation of international standards, and whereas national data indicate that black women and girls account for approximately 40% of women trafficked in the United States, while about 24% are Latina, LGBTQIA+ individuals, particularly transgender women of color, are also disproportionately impacted by sex trafficking. And whereas an estimated 27.6 million people remain vulnerable to traffickers who often exploit poverty, instability, and crisis, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Joliet Township Government proclaims January 2026 as National Human Trafficking Prevention Month in Joliet Township, encourages all residents to learn the signs of trafficking and join in efforts to protect the freedom and well-being of every person, to be adopted this 13th day of January of 2026. Do I have a motion and a second to approve this proclamation?
So moved. Second.
Madam Clerk, you call the roll.
Trustee Gavin.
Aye.
Trustee Adamowski.
Aye.
Trustee Vivian.
Aye.
Trustee Washington.
Aye.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Up next is an amended 2026 holiday calendar for Joliet Township Government. And we added in New Year's Eve also, and kind of brought this into line with what our neighboring townships, their schedules are. So if there is a motion and a second to approve the amended 2026 holiday calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Washington.
Aye.
Trustee Adamowski.
Aye.
Trustee Vivian.
Aye.
Trustee Gavin.
Aye.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Up next, so we will have now a resolution number 2026-01, reporting the determination of the Joliet Township Board's review of closed session minutes pursuant to section 2.06 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act. Now, that's quite the title. So in short, this is in approval of past closed session minutes, we have reviewed those closed session minutes, and every so often we need to make a determination as to whether or not those closed session minutes can be released to the public, and then what to do with the verbatim recording of said minutes. So if you'll look in the schedules A and B that accompany this agenda item, we had closed session meeting minutes spanning back from January 10th, 2023 to most recently July of 2025. Made the determination that 6 meetings would remain confidential, not to be released. And under Schedule B, we've got recordings of minutes spanning all the way back to 2013. These were previously approved for release, but the recording still exists, and so this will authorize us now to dispose of the recording as it's no longer necessary. Back to Schedule A, the closed session minutes that we will not be releasing. The suggestion was made to us by the legal counsel that these closed sessions were still recent enough and were pertinent to matters that were still recent, still kind of affecting ongoing operations, and so the recommendation was made not to release those. So, any questions regarding closed session minutes or content of this agenda item? If there's no further questions, then I would ask for a motion and a second to approve resolution number 2026-01.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motion and seconded. Madam Clerk, if you call the roll.
Trustee Gavin,
Aye.
Trustee Vivian,
Aye.
Trustee Adamowski,
Aye.
Trustee Washington,
Aye.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried.
This next item, ordinance number 417-2026, establishing a records retention and disposal policy. This is basically just to bring in all of our different programs and departments to have kind of a standardized policy that's in compliance with state law and any other statutory requirements. It's been shared with the different program, different department heads of each program. They're been made aware of this, so everybody will kind of be following a standardized uniform policy. Any questions regarding this ordinance? If there's no questions, then I will ask if there is a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 417-2026.
So moved. Second.
Madam Clerk, we call the roll.
Trustee Adamowski,
Aye.
Trustee Gavin,
Aye.
Trustee Vivian,
Aye.
Trustee Washington,
Aye.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Yes. Didn't want to get out of order here. Next on the agenda, then we'll have ordinance number 418-2026, establishing a township asset inventory and control system. In summary, as we've been making our way through some improvements to the building, some renovations, we have, put it bluntly, just stuff. So, some of which has already been disposed of, things that are either broken or just not in good condition, but we do have a lot of things that are still in good shape that were expensive when we purchased them, and so we want to make sure that even if they are no longer in use or no longer of need to us, that we're disposing of those properly. So this will allow us to create an inventory system. Our deputy clerk has started to prepare some of the work for that, identifying items in township possession that are valued at above $200. So those will be catalog, inventory. We have a code, basically a barcode or a QR code system that will allow us to populate that into a digital spreadsheet for easier management. And then if we make the determination that anything that we have that we no longer have use of, that's valued at over $200, we'll follow through with a standard policy of how to get rid how to properly rid ourselves of that inventory, whether that be putting it up for bid, transferring ownership over to a different entity, or making the determination that while this item might have been valued at $200,000, $500,000 at the time of purchase, because of depreciation, it's no longer valued at that amount, and we can just simply dispose of it. So that'll just help us overall get a better sense of what is in our possession, what we do have ownership of, identify where there might be some needs to replace things or modernize things as we go through our renovations throughout our multiple buildings. Any questions regarding this ordinance? Then if there are no questions, I'd ask for a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 418-2026.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motion and seconded. Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll.
Trustee Washington.
Aye.
Trustee Gavin.
Aye.
Trustee Adamowski.
Aye.
Trustee Vivian.
Aye.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next item is ordinance number 419-2026, establishing rules of procedure for township meetings. We did previously have an ordinance already on file for rules of procedure for township meetings, for updating those rules, and so by adopting this ordinance, we'll effectively replace the previous ordinance. Highlights would include, we actually upped the time limit. Previously was 3 minutes. We've increased that to 4 minutes. That's in line with what the city of Joliet has. We also just kind of clarified some of the language on what the rules of procedure are, just to ensure that we're having a smooth meeting, that any public participation is directed to the board as a whole, trying to avoid anything that would be inflammatory or derogatory, anything of that nature. So not too many, not a major change to what we had previously. It's really more of a revision to what the rules of procedure were. Any questions on changes here with this ordinance? Okay, well, if there are no questions, and I'll ask for a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 419-2026.
So moved. Second.
Madam Clerk? Okay.
Who was it?
Okay, so motion made by trustee Vivian and second by trustee.
No.
Gavin.
Gotcha,
It is
gotcha,
Vivian,
okay.
okay.
Motion made by trustee Gavin, second by trustee Vivian.
Trustee Gavin.
Aye.
Trustee Vivian.
Aye.
Trustee Adamowski.
Aye.
Trustee Washington.
Aye.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. This next item, I asked for this to be added to the agenda just as a review, to be able to bring this forth for open discussion, with the entirety of the board. So I'm at this time not asking for a motion for approval or to bring this forward to a vote, but did want to have the opportunity to discuss this openly. This ordinance number 420-2026, regulating weeds, grass, bushes, trees, ponds, establishing fees for liens and releases, designating authorized officials, and repealing ordinance 381-2022 and resolution 2002-7. So a little bit similar to our previous item, by bringing this forth, we are updating what we had previously, kind of streamlining the process and bringing it into a singular item. This would is in regards to basically law enforcement. So while it's we don't do a whole lot of it throughout the year, it is one of the responsibilities of township to enforce regulations on kind of nuisance properties. So when the determination has been made, we typically get a report, right? A neighbor will call in, I will go visit the location, we'll make a determination if the property is in fact a nuisance property. And so this ordinance kind of streamlines that process a little bit, and allows us to establish a lien, which would allow us to recover some of the costs incurred during that process. It is, in some sense, granting a little bit of an extension or interpretation of executive power, and it is involving a fee right? And so I anticipated that there might be some resistance to this or some pushback, which is why I'm bringing this forth just as a discussion item today, get some feedback from the board on what your thoughts might be.
I mean, I'm all for property maintenance, and fees are probably the best way to enforce property maintenance.
Yeah.
Especially because within here you give time for warning and people have time to correct something on their own.
Yeah, I didn't want this to feel like it was just an outright
Yeah.
punitive measure that we're going to be punishing people for letting their grass grow a little longer than usual, right? That's not the intention of this. But just to draw your attention to, if you guys have it, I guess as a digital copy. Page 4 for me, it'd be Article 6, fees. Section 6.1 allows for an administrative fee of $150 per property for each notice of lien filed. Section 6.2, upon satisfaction of all amounts due under the notice of a lien, including principal amount, administrative fee, recording fees, and other applicable costs, property owner shall then pay a release fee of $75.
Is this for vacant properties as well as properties that are inhabited?
It should cover vacant properties also, right, as it's written.
And although it's not on here, I got someone living in the township whose neighbor rents this property, but they got chickens, roosters, and farm animals. And she wanted to know, is there an ordinance or is there, anything that addresses that?
I don't think that would be something that we would enforce. I think that would be Will County land use. Again, so I know that bringing forth any sort of fees or fines can sometimes be a little controversial, right? Nobody wants to be met with extra, nobody wants to have to pay money that they didn't have to pay before. Right? So, wanted to bring this forth to get some feedback. We could, bring this back at our next month's meeting, kind of finalize. Do the dollar amounts seem okay to everyone here?
Fair compared to what other municipalities and townships do.
And again, you're giving people a warning
Mm.
to correct the mistake or the issue. It's not, you have to have some skin in the game, okay?
Yep.
And this does it.
The cost of doing the legal work is lien. You have to recoup that cost of it's legal. So this is mine. No, it's a warning and it's.
There are also provisions included in here, where we have the authorized, guess officials within the ordinance would have the discretion to be able to waive those fees. It's, at kind of request of the applicant, it's determined that they have either financial hardship, elderly property owners, kind of take that all into account and approach it with a holistic consideration. So this isn't necessarily just a blanket, everybody's gonna have to pay an extra $250 a year now, because we just really love to fine people. That's not the approach that we're bringing. But again, like, nobody likes fines. It's not a popular subject.
So how many warnings before, we go through the process of putting a lien against the property? Are you warning? I was looking through here, I didn't see. There is a number of warnings before that happens.
That would be under notice requirements, Article 4. The township shall notify the owner of the existence of the nuisance and inform the owner or association of the township's intention to abate the nuisance on a date certain if the owner fails to take appropriate action within 7 days of said notice. So we would, upon this being brought to our attention, I would go out, make the determination if it is in fact a nuisance property. We'll give them written notice. They would have then 7 days to abate the issue. If there's failure to bring it into compliance within 7 days, then that would allow us to initiate the lien. With, again, the consideration that we can waive that if circumstances dictate so. Any questions then regarding this? That was smoother than I thought it would be. A question for legal, that we place this on the agenda as just as a discussion item, but if it seems that we're in agreement, can we still bring this to a vote tonight, or should we just wait until our next board meeting?
It probably would have been better to say review and possible adoption,
Sure.
since it was on the agenda. It's probably safer than to
Yeah, we're
separately state it on the agenda
we're
next
in no-
time for
we're in no
adoption.
rush to pass this since.
You probably could, but you know me, I've always advised to be cautious.
Sure, yeah.
And if
it's
somebody
not-
challenges it,
In all
then
practicality, none of this really goes into effect until summertime,
Right.
so we've got some time still
No,
to,
it's now.
okay, then we'll leave this as a discussion item, with the intent to return this, to next month's agenda. So that would be all for new business items. And that brings us to now the reports section of our meeting. So, in order of appearance as listed, we'll begin with our lead transportation coordinator, Leo Haro.
My printer didn't work before coming here. Good evening, everyone. So for transportation program, I mean, every month is a lot of trips. For December of last year, we completed a total of 839 trips, just 39 less than November, and out of those 839 trips, 254 were senior trips. In addition, we helped the Salvation Army Community Center to transport children, children to the YMCA for the Christmas break. And that was very much December, kind of slow month for us. Our final numbers for 2025, the transportation program completed a total of 10,137 trips with all partnerships, seniors, and special requests. And out of this 10,137 trips, 3,006 were senior trips, which now will be going to the Will County Dial-Ride program starting next month. So what we've been doing is we've been telling our seniors to, if they have not used that program before, is to call them. We provide them with the phone number if they struggle with technology too, because Dial-Ride have a option for seniors to fill out information on their website. All we ask is for their permission for us to fill out the forms, and then we can scan it to the Will County Dial-Ride program. So I'm sure that those not help, not transporting seniors to medical appointments is gonna have some kind of like an impact on our program, but we are looking to bring more organizations into our transportation so we can continue with services for our community. That's pretty much it. Oh, and I want to add, this Friday we have a Narcan training for our drivers.
Oh, one more time, the total number of rides for the year.
10,137.
Ooh, that's nice.
So that's a lot. And you said it's only with what? Nine drivers. So
Good job.
kudos to the drivers. They're doing the hard work. So, I emailed it to you. My print didn't work.
Oh.
Yeah.
Up next then, I ask for our General Assistance Director, Patricia Venziano.
outreach events last month. But last month, Sue Buston did retire after 22 years with the township. While we will miss Sue, I am pleased to announce that after conducting interviews with several applicants, Jessie Stiff agreed to step into the position and will now serve as a general assistance caseworker / workfare investigator. I think Jessie is going to be the perfect fit for the position. I'm thrilled to say that we filled 4 boxes for the Toys for Tots campaign, and again, I appreciate all the donations that were made to help us accomplish that goal. Alejandra and I both completed our certifications for VITA. We have prepared our packets, and Isabel submitted an article to the Herald News, which was published last week. So we've already got residents that are coming in, picking up their tax packets. Our first outreach last month for the lighting season was a great success. You never know what you're gonna get when it's a week away from Christmas and you hold it, something like that. But we actually had 26 township residents. Special thanks to Isabel for spamming that message on Facebook and on our website to ensure that the residents knew where to come for help. Our next Light Heap event will be on January 21st from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. Later on, when Ivan speaks, he is going to be talking about the budget amendment being requested for GA. And I just wanted to point out that that is a consequence of our having provided nearly twice the amount of assistance in 2025 than what we did in 2024. Many things factored into that, most notably that most of the surrounding social service agencies simply did not have funds, or they had very limited funds in 2025. The biggest driving factor, however, was that the previous administration, against my advice, raised our qualifying income from 110% of poverty level to 150%. That was way overboard. The raise in income saw us serving clients that not only normally would not qualify at the township, but they were also over income for other social service agencies, as a scenario that never should have existed. Township is always your option of last resort. When you can't get help anywhere else, you go to the township. It should never be that you're over income for everybody else's program and that you come to the township, and that's the position that we found ourselves in. I make an annual adjustment to our qualifying income guidelines every January when the new poverty guidelines are published. And Caesar and I will be making that adjustment sometime this month, and we will return back to 110% once those numbers are available. Other than that, it's just business as usual.
Thanks, Patricia.
Thank you. And rolling right along, our Animal Control Director, Whitney McGill.
December was a particularly busy and successful month, highlighted by a strong increase in cat and kitten adoptions. A total of 43 cats and kittens found homes during this month, reflecting continued community engagement and demand for adoptions. For reference, last December we only adopted out 20 cats, so it was more than double. On December 12th, we were grateful to receive a large donation from the Rusty Nuts Car Club, which included cat litter, dog and cat food, and other essential supplies. In addition to these in-kind donations, they also collected and contributed monetary donations to support our program. We greatly appreciate their generosity and continued community support. Throughout December, Leanne and I worked closely with our database provider, PetPoint, to train staff on the new mobile checkout feature for adoptions and to prepare our system for full implementation. While this has been an ongoing process, we're nearly ready to fully roll out this feature. Mobile checkout will provide notable cost savings, particularly with microchipping, as the cost per microchip is reduced to $5 using the mobile checkout compared to $14 without it. This feature will be available for adopters who have a valid email address. As this busy year came to a close, we are proud to share that 628 animals were adopted in 2025, an increase from 597 in 2024. This growth reflects the hard work and dedication of our staff, as well as the continued support from our community. We look forward to building on this momentum as we move into 2026. Any questions?
Thank you.
And we'll call our Finance Director, Ivan Diaz.
I'll start with the amended budget since I made a shout out. We did have to transfer over some funds for shelter and utilities. That increased appropriations in the GA budget, $46,000. So that's just coming from the general town fund. General town went up $125,000 in appropriation, so it's just affecting the ending balance, not, in between line items, like most of the other changes were. A couple other factors that played into that, we did have new rates come in from, for 2026. One of those rates is SUDA, State Unemployment Tax. We were previously at 1.75, we are now at 5.55, which is a dramatic increase. They have a formula that they calculate the rate on. We just had a lot of benefit charges last year resulting from one of our programs that ended. Another rate change was IMRF. We've been steady at the low percentage point since I've been here. And it went up, it's not a lot, it's 2.2, it's not as drastic as the unemployment rate, but it's still, needing some changes. Those changes were taken care of in the amendment, kind of got like it was doing at the same time, just, took care of that. But that's it for the amendment changes. Other than that, it's January, people are already asking for the W-2, so I'll be busy with those 1099s to any of the vendors that we paid out over $600 will get a 1099 from us. Other than that, that's what I'm in for January. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Vince is not here, Jim couldn't join us tonight, so we'll skip ahead to Program and Policy Coordinator Tyler Chadwell.
Good evening, everybody. I just have a couple quick updates for us on how we're doing. One of the big changes this month has been the transition into the Access Will County program with our transportation department. I know Leo touched on how all the great work we've been doing this year. Leo, myself, and the county met last week just to keep talking about the specifics of this transition, how we can make sure riders are able to kind of move from one service to the other smoothly with the least amount of trouble. So that's going really well. We're excited. We also needed to kind of warn the county about the quantity to expect from us. As Leo highlighted, we did nearly 10,000 rides last year. The entirety of Will County did about 16,000 last year. So our addition is a sizable change for them. So we're trying to make sure the whole process doesn't get flooded as we transition. Other thing we've been working on is as part of the purchase of the Louis Race Center, we ended up owning a number of properties in the area. Caesar and myself have been meeting with the city, engineers, various stakeholders to explore different ideas for how to develop that area and how to make sure the community continues to grow. We haven't really come to any major decisions. We're just really exploring options right now, so I don't have anything specific to report, but we're looking at ways to kind of change up the area and keep helping the neighborhood thrive. Lastly, we are working later this month, hopefully, to have a food pantry pop-up out of the Louis Race Center. We're currently looking sometime in the last week of January, so make sure to keep an eye out for that as we get everything finalized. That's all I've got. Any questions?
Thank you.
Jumping over to the next column, our Violence Prevention Community Convener, Gabriel Garcia.
Hello, good evening, everyone. So really quickly, just some stats around the violence prevention work that we've been doing. In the month of December, we closed tracking about 51 incidences of violence across Will County, 2 of which were gunshot wound surviving victims, and 1 fatal stabbing, unfortunately. This month so far, we're tracking 10 incidences of violence within Will County. Programmatically across the region that we partner with, which again is as far east as like the Illinois-Indiana state border and as far north as Wisconsin-Illinois borders. we're seeing a lot more traction and communication from our regional partners that are also doing this RPSA violence prevention work. So as a result of that, in December, we seen about 6 applications come in for flex funds, and we were able to disperse about $30,000 worth of financial assistance to the families that have been impacted by gun violence in the respective areas. And this month alone already, in the first 2 weeks of January, we've got the same number, 6 applications so far. We're able to disperse up to $30,000 just within these 6 applications. And with the communication that we've had this week from the partners, it looks like January is probably gonna be our biggest month for how much we're able to provide assistance. So I think that's a tribute to all of the collaborative partnerships that we've been working on internally and externally, because we're getting the word out. I think that speaks to the community awareness campaigns that we've been leading over the past 3 months. Partnership with Eastside, creating a flyer for us to distribute. Juan giving us great ideas on how to make access easier to the resources that we have in this program. Something else that I kind of realized with specifically our area here in Greater Joliet and Will County is that under this grant, we don't have a youth development organization. So to your point, Trustee Washington, the preventative approach is not complete for our area without having a youth development grantee under this grant. So since we are coming up to the end of this grant year in March of this year, so just in 2 short months, what we're going to propose to the state is that we need a youth development grantee within our area. Right now we have our convener grantee, which is us, the township. We have our behavioral health grantee, which is Haiti. I think she's up after me. And we have a violence prevention service provider grantee in our area, which is Illinois Youth and Family Services. But we don't have a youth program, development program grantee. So we're gonna propose to the state that we need one, right? We need some additional funds allocated for our region so that we can expand the work to be more preventative as opposed to this reactive. Question?
No, I actually talk to you later.
Yes, ma'am. Well, yeah, we're gonna ask for it. When we get it, then we'll see who can apply for it, whether,
Oh.
yeah. So yeah, as I mentioned, we just closed Q3 of this grant year. So the report, everything is ready, and with Ivan's support and Caesar, we're all working, Haiti and myself, all working to submit the continuation application so that we want to extend this program that the township has been leading through March of 2027. So it's looking good. They make it sound like it's almost a certainty that we will be able to extend the services in the program. So I think those are the main updates that I had for the violence prevention efforts for December, January. Okay, thank you. I was inspired earlier. I think our speakers left, but I don't know if you all knew of Dr. King's many legacies. He left a set of principles for us to try to live by. And as the violence prevention convener, I think I would offer them to you. A lot of folks surprisingly have not heard of these principles. So principle number 1 is nonviolence is a way of life for courageous people. And I think that principle is important because nowadays the people who are perpetrating violence think that they're more courageous, more brave, or more strong because they're perpetrating violence. Whereas not acting in violence is a lot harder, I think. So if we're able to do that, Dr. King believed that we were more courageous if we were able to live nonviolently. The second one is, I think what Trustee Washington, we've talked about in the past and what we're working towards is the beloved community is the framework and the foundation of the future. So we want to bring in more partnerships, get the community more involved towards building a better future for Greater Joliet, right, and our partnering regions. What I have here is it says attack forces of evil, but I think it's speak out against, contest, and disagree with forces of evil as opposed to persons doing evil. And that'd be hard to do, right? Because you want to say that person's doing these bad things, but that in itself is kind of a violent accusation, whereas we want to acknowledge that things being done are not right, or unjust. Number 4 is accepting suffering without retaliation, which just sounds difficult to do. But if we're able to achieve that, then we will be contributing to peace as opposed to perpetrating more the cycle of violence. Accepting suffering without retaliation for the sake of the cause to achieve the goal. I think there was a lot of controversy for Dr. King around that one, right? But I try to live by it too. Avoid internal violence of spirit as well as external violence. And as a therapist myself, I think that's our own inner self-talk. If you get frustrated with yourself, disappointed in yourself, angry at yourself, you're being violent towards yourself, but trying to avoid that. The last one is the universe is on the side of justice. So if you believe it, we can achieve it, right? So I just want to, earlier when the speakers, before they left, I was like, yes. But I just wanted to close with that. Thank you. If there's no question for the updates, thank you.
Thank you.
Then right up next, we'll have our behavioral health team director, Katie Martinez Rosales.
Good evening, everyone. So currently the program is serving 21 individual clients. This month of January, we have completed 3 intakes so far, so that number should be increasing for the next quarters to come. We have reconnected with the Lincoln School to restart our second round of group therapy, increasing it from 2 groups last quarter to now 4 groups this upcoming this month of January. So we're just working out the final details so that we can start providing 4 groups in total to the school at Lincoln. In December, I participated in 2 professional training courses focused on trauma and juvenile delinquency, as well as domestic violence and trauma. These trainings support continued skill development and ensure evidence-informed care for the populations we are currently serving. Additionally, I have been working closely with Anna, the executive assistant, to revamp our reporting process in order to capture the most accurate data possible. This is to support the completion of accuracy for quarter 2, which we'll be submitting this Thursday, and to make sure all future quarters are more in compliance and that we're providing accurate data. Any questions?
Thank you. Our Director of Human Resources, Dr. Erica Waters.
Thank you.
Happy New Year, y'all.
Good evening.
Glad to see y'all in 26.
Haven't seen you since last year.
I know.
Waited all day to say that.
I know, right? I got my New Year brooch on. It's good to the 31st. Oh, sorry. Like earlier, so the 2 organizations that did come for the proclamation, I am a member of both the National Hookup of Black Women and NAACP. So, yeah. I am grateful for MLK as well, because it reminds us that the leadership doesn't start with us and it won't end with us. But Dr. King led with courage, conviction, and service, even when it cost him everything. And as a leader today, I don't compare myself to his greatness. I align myself with his responsibility to serve people, speak truth, and leave the door open wider than I found it. So as we go into this new year, human resources, yeah, you know, my job is really good. Like, I love y'all. But we focus on leadership development, safety and compliance, and workforce planning as we close out 2025 and prepare for 2026. The leadership training continuing with the emphasis on accountability, communication, and supervisory effectiveness. Safety efforts include ongoing coordination with TORMA and Narcan training, follow up with them, with additional sessions scheduled for January 16th. There has been no reported safety incidents in the past 30 days. Let's keep that up. Reflecting strong adherence to safety protocols, HR continues personnel file audits, attendance and accrual reviews, and benefits and leave administration to maintain compliance. Upcoming priorities include finalizing personnel file reviews, implementing the summer internship program with our partners, and releasing the January 2026 quarterly HR newsletter highlighting 2025 accomplishments. I gave y'all a more longer version. I don't want to do that to the people. So, any questions for me? Y'all good? Come on. Good to see y'all again in 2026.
Thank you.
And we'll have hear from our senior liaison, Mr. Jeff Wallace.
Well, that's part of December after our meetings. I've been thanking the veterans that came to our luncheon. I've been talking about our tax service program. There's no senior service calendar for the first time. I called. And I saw a lady at a senior group last Thursday that goes down there quite frequently. And she was ready, not sure how much staff they have there. So I leave messages and there's no response. So I'm gonna get some flyers for our tax service program. I'm gonna start handing those out the rest of this month and the month of February. There was a few groups that didn't meet this month, they take off January. But February I have 10 meetings. That's all we have that I go to. So if you have any questions, just don't hesitate to ask me.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll hear from our clerk, Amber Land.
So for December, we were working with the state archivist office regarding record retention management in order to stay compliant with state law. There were records that, like, including election records and records from the transportation and violence prevention programs that weren't added on the records retention schedule before. So now that's getting done. We got our first bid opening for the road district and our first grass cutting lien that we had to file. And then as you all have heard, Juan created all of the ordinances 417 to 420 that were on the agenda today. So we're thankful for that. And the website's been updated on the clerk's office page. And then a section on the website has been included about election dates, so that's on there. And then the organizational chart and other documents that need to be on display have been updated as well. No questions?
I think everyone got through really the highlights that I wanted to share previously. So I guess just looking ahead, well, tonight we approved our amended budget, and we're already in considerations for the upcoming fiscal year, starting on April 1st. So we're already kind of laying the groundwork to plan around next fiscal year. As you saw in the amendments tonight, our expenses have increased. And so without really getting into the particulars or the details just yet, we're really trying our best to continue all of our services, make sure that there isn't a lapse in service, but getting creative with adapting some programs, how they operate. A very good example is our transportation program. So we will be retaining a fleet of vehicles, even though we are transitioning some of our ridership over to the county style ride service. So it's that sort of thinking, really having to get creative with some of these solutions to ensure that no matter what happens, we continue to provide those services to the public. Clearly, there's a demand, there's a need for these to be addressed, but we're trying our best to do those within the constraints of our limited budgets. Since really the only way for us to increase revenues would be to increase taxes, and nobody wants to do that. So, I'll be meeting, hopefully with, each one of the trustees individually, over the weeks to come, to discuss kind of next year's budget. It's never too early to start. So we do have a couple of months, to prepare and bring that, to order for April 1st fiscal year. But again, we'd like to have those conversations started now, well in advance, so we're ready to kind of hit the ground running. We've made some, good building improvements, that's kind of been ongoing. So we'll expect to see some improvements to our first floor lobby here at our main office very soon. Continued improvements at the Louise Ray, Center. We've got designs for animal control building. So, I kind of touch on, capital improvements every time we're here, but these are long-term projects that take many months to complete. So, glad to see progress being made on those fronts. And again, thanks to all of our, different employees, our department heads. None of this work is possible without you guys, and so I'm very grateful for all of you. We're gonna make sure that we continue to provide, excellent service to all of our township residents. Thank you. So we'll carry on with the remainder of the agenda, as I'm sure everyone's anxious to wrap up here and get home. So, first would be approval of cash receipts. Cash receipts for, the month of December totaled $142,121.93. Is there a motion and a second for the approval of cash receipts?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so that's a motion by trustee Gavin, second by trustee Adamowski. Madam Clerk?
Trustee Gavin.
Aye.
Trustee Adamowski.
Aye.
Trustee Vivian.
Aye.
Trustee Washington.
Aye.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Moving on now to expenditures, in the general town fund for the month of December, expenditures totaled $367,066.90. There a motion and a second to approve the expenditures for general town fund.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Trustee Washington.
Aye.
Trustee Gavin.
Aye.
Trustee Adamowski.
Aye.
Trustee Vivian.
Aye.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next is our capital fund for the month of December, expenditures totaled $32,081.16. There a motion and a second to approve these expenditures.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Trustee Gavin.
Aye.
Trustee Vivian.
Aye.
Trustee Adamowski.
Aye.
Trustee Washington.
Aye.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next is our general assistance fund for the month of December, expenditures totaled $41,784.55. Is there a motion and a second to approve, these expenditures?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Trustee Gavin.
Aye.
Trustee Washington.
Aye.
Trustee Adamowski.
Aye.
Trustee Vivian.
Aye.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Road and Bridge Fund for the month of December had expenditures totaling $99,854.72. Is there a motion and a second to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Washington.
Aye.
Trustee Gavin.
Aye.
Trustee Adamowski.
Aye.
Trustee Vivian.
Aye.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Animal Control Fund for the month of December, expenditures totaled $102,013.58. Is there a motion and a second to approve these expenditures?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Trustee Gavin.
Aye.
Trustee Adamowski.
Aye.
Trustee Vivian.
Aye.
Trustee Washington.
Aye.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And finally, our senior fund expenditures for the month of December totaled $1,080.00. Is there a motion and a second to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Trustee Gavin.
Aye.
Trustee Vivian.
Aye.
Trustee Adamowski.
Aye.
Trustee Washington.
Aye.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. So that concludes expenditures and bills for approval for this month. The final item on our agenda is to be held in closed session. So it says advisory to our audience. we will be entertaining a motion to enter closed session to discuss personnel matters. Upon conclusion of the closed session, we'll return, but since there are no longer any agenda items for the open session, this is effectively the conclusion of our meeting. But for our board, formally, we will be looking for a motion and a second to suspend our open meeting and enter closed session to discuss personnel.
So, second.
So that's a motion by trustee Adamowski and a second by trustee Gavin. Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll.
Trustee Adamowski.
Aye.
Trustee Gavin.
Aye.
Trustee Vivian.
Aye.
Trustee Washington.
Aye.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried.
6:15.
Okay, so we are once again recording. We have returned from our closed session and are now going to, there's really only one thing left, with everything on our agenda having been addressed.
Supervisor, do you want to say that there is nothing to vote on that arose in the closed session, just for the record, even though I just said it?
Yes. So for the record of our closed session meeting, there was nothing required a vote. So we are now returning to our public session. Is that sufficient?
Yes.
So unless there's any closing thoughts, everything on our agenda has been covered. The only item that is left is adjournments. I have a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Gavin.
Aye.
Trustee Washington.
Aye.
Trustee Adamowski.
Aye.
Trustee Vivian.
Aye.
Supervisor Guerrero.
Aye.
Motion carried.
We adjourned at 7:03.
That's everybody.